Folks, welcome back to the channel, and I wanted to cover Metroid Fusion today. And with the release of Metroid Dread coming up, it's quite an exciting time to be a Metroid fan. And I wanted to revisit one of the games that I didn't play particularly all that much. Now, I did beat this on the Nintendo Wii U about maybe 6 or 7 years back. Now, I do remember enjoying it, but I had some gripes, and I wanted to see, do those gripes still hold up, or do I still feel the same way? And I suppose in preparation for Metroid Dread, I really did want to replay it again because supposedly the story ties directly to Dread and it's a direct sequel of Fusion. So definitely an interesting time to replay it. I spent the majority of my Sunday playing this, and I gotta say, man, I was wrong. I was so wrong. The game holds up so well, and it's way better than I remember it being. And I'm going to get into the reasons why today. So maybe just to elaborate on some backstory first. Again, bear in mind my first experience with this game was on the Nintendo Wii U. But you gotta remember, this was a Game Boy Advance game, and the game was created with the Game Boy Advance in mind. And comparatively speaking, my experience was a big TV and a controller. So straight away thinking back, some of those design decisions that were created and made for the handheld device probably didn't translate to my experience of the game. As I said, big TV and a controller. In my head I was imagining Super Metroid again, when in reality some of these, what I was annoyed about maybe, nuances originally, and I wasn't thinking clearly, I don't believe. I was directly comparing it to Super Metroid, when, as I said, I didn't take into consideration those design aspects. Because one was a big screen console, the other was a handheld. And now I can fully appreciate those decisions a lot more after going through the game again with an open mind. Look, I'm a massive fan of Super Metroid. I always have and I always will be a massive fan. And for me, Super Metroid is one of the greatest games ever made. Not just within Metroid, the franchise itself. I think one of the best games ever made. And as I mentioned, now that I've tried to approach Metroid Fusion with a more open mind to those design aspects, I'm starting to really respect what Metroid Fusion has done. It actually takes two of the best aspects from Super Metroid and enhances on them in every single way. The first being its atmosphere. The level of atmosphere in this game is unreal, and it is actually comparatively even better in some aspects to Super Metroid. Might be controversial here, but I think Fusion has some of the best soundtracks in the game's entire history. Now, there obviously are the most memorable ones that come from Super Metroid, but the soundtrack design of Metroid Fusion in particular is very haunting. And it's very haunting for one particular reason also. The fact is you are being chased by SA-X, which is essentially Samus X. Now, without spoiling anything, I won't get into the backstory of Samus X until maybe you complete the game. But what I gotta say is, if you remember Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, Nemesis, Mr. X, all of that, imagine that inside a Metroid game. Essentially, you're being hunted by a replica Samus, essentially full-powered Samus, and it creates this serious sense of dread. And Samus X can show up anywhere, really. From my playthrough anyway, I was trying to assess whether or not it was kind of a scenario where she showed up at trigger points. I think that may be the case, but still, it's still terrifying all the same. So you get this constant feeling that you're being chased by SA-X in this case. And maybe just for a bit of comparison, I always remember this segment in Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. So I still kind of got some similar feeling between SA-X and Nemesis, but this was always a cool scene. So back to Metroid Fusion, and now that I can respect the systems in place, here's why I understand why they put these systems in place. You have to imagine the Game Boy Advance was a pick up and play machine, and what I mean is you probably played for short bursts, or you went for a trip, or you were on the bus, or you went on the train, and you wanted to play Metroid. If you're sitting down on the couch playing Metroid, you're playing for a couple of hours. But because you may drop, I suppose, again, I have to think back to when you purchased the Game Boy Advance and thinking what the designers were thinking. They were thinking, well, if we leave this completely open-ended, a person might drop the Game Boy Advance and might not play it for about 6 or 7 days in some instances. And they want to pick it up again because they're going traveling. And then they might scratch their head going, Jesus, where the hell was I? I can't remember. So I find that the mechanic of having sectors in the game actually help that design aspect, because you can approach the game in blocks, and if you're always lost or if you forget where you were going, you can go back to the navigation room and it gives you some guidance as to where you need to go. And that, now I can respect that more and I can understand it. So with that, and in combination of some of the excellent design choices to bring that feeling of foreboding and that general kind of atmosphere that you get from Super Metroid, I really got to say I got it wrong about this game when I played it first, and I didn't go into it with a clear head. And now that I'm really enjoying, I'm enjoying my playthrough so much better than I did the first time around, because I now can understand why they put some of these design choices into the game. And now I'm not judging the game on what I expected it to be from a Super Metroid point of view. I'm treating it as a game that was created for a handheld and with huge respect to the games that came before it. And it's a fantastic game. And I gotta say, as I said originally in this video, super time to be a Metroid fan. Metroid Dread is on the way. Cannot wait to see how the story unfolds. And is it a conclusion to the franchise? Who knows? Let's just hope Nintendo continues to give us more games in the future. Maybe a little bit more frequently, if that makes sense. Anyway guys, that's it for today's video. Thought it would be a good share today, considering that's the top of my mind and I'm incredibly passionate about the franchise in general. And I'm interested to know your thoughts, guys. Please share your thoughts in the comments. Did you enjoy it the first time around? Have you replayed it recently? And are you as hyped for Metroid Dread as I am? As always guys, if you liked what you see, please make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.